Hello, everyone. Michelle G here, coming to you from sunny San Diego. How are you today? How are you this evening? And you know what? I am so excited to be here with you. And I just want to tell you that today's topic is one that we can all resonate with because at some point we've heard these words. I need a break. So I don't want to delay and I want to go ahead and just get right to it. Well, I need a break or I need space. God, I say those words and it's just like, ugh, like they're so repelling. But when we hear that in a relationship, from a relationship standpoint, what ends up happening is that there's a switch that goes off in us. First part of the switch is that you could be very passive aggressive, okay, or interrogation mode happens. So that's something to be aware about. So usually the conversation happens something like this. I need space. Blah, 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 blah. What? What do you mean you need space? I need space. It's not you. It's me. I need to figure this out. Now, interestingly enough, we don't like to hear this. It's one of those things that we're just like, what do you mean it's not you? What do you mean it's not me, right? Well, I want to point out two things with this. And here's the first thing that I want to point out to you, all right? The first thing is this person has an issue with being honest. There's an honesty factor here, which would make me question, how often were they actually honest with you in your relationship? And that's something for you to think about. If they can't really tell you that it's something wrong with them, then it should make you kind of question the honesty that is in the relationship and how honest both parties were throughout the relationship. The other reason it could be is that they also don't want to deal with the aftermath reaction. For women, we can get emotional. We can start nagging and why, and what's going on and what did I do, and just come off very desperate. And that's a big turnoff for men, okay? They are very simple creatures. They want to be able to just say what they have to say and then kind of just let it be. Let them process. They need time to process. With us, we don't always feel that we need the time to process. The other thing that I want to bring up, too, is that, on the other end, on the receiving end, since if you're the person who is receiving this horrific phrase or this bad news that I need break or I need space, I would ask you to sit back and ask yourself, are you putting any demands or any pressure on anyone, on this person in the relationship? Is this coming over? Is this, what's happening here? And I would ask you to pause and just take a moment to think about that. Because at times we don't realize how passively aggressive we could be putting demands and pressures on our partner. And it's not necessarily that they can't be honest, as I mentioned before. It's the fact that they don't know how to be able to communicate that with you without it causing into a big argument. So something for you to think about. Scenario 2 conversation is really one of my favorites. I'm sure most of you have experienced this, like myself. And this is scenario 2. I don't think it's working out. We're constantly fighting. We want different things. We have different needs. And you kind of take a step back and say, you have different needs. When the hell did this happen? Why didn't you tell me? Right? That's the initial reaction. Like, what can I do? Well, here's the thing, is that that's a moment and a time for you to listen. Because throughout the relationship, at some point, your partner was probably telling you that it's important for you to to telling you their needs, telling you what they thought was important. And maybe you just weren't aware and you weren't listening. And so now they've kind of just built it all up and it comes out in this. I need space, or I need to take a break from you. So I'm going to tell you the two biggest mistakes that you can do if this conversation happens. First mistake number 1, okay? Do not ask why. Don't ask why. That's not the moment to ask why. When a person tells you that they need space, that's a moment to honor that and to just let them be. It's not a moment for you to ask why and what you did wrong, okay? Which leads me into point number 2. Do not, by no means, try to have the conversation right then and there. If this person's telling you that they need space, they need to kind of breathe, have a little bit of breathing room, honor that for them. As women, we tend to sometimes, we like to solve things right then and there. We don't like having things looming. Men are different. Men like to take a step back. They want to be able to just kind of like, all right, I did this. They process it and they move on with their lives. And it doesn't mean that they just move on with their lives and that it's not important to them. No, not at all. Okay? But it really means that they just don't want to talk about it right then and there. And I'm going to give you some strategies towards the end of this so you can use some what I call hooks to be able to open up the conversation to prevent this from happening to you. So I understand that you're probably looking at me and saying, you know what, Michelle? Hold on a second. What do you mean that I don't ask why and I don't get a clear answer? Because at this point, I'm probably like, oh my God, what does it mean then? What do I say to that? Do I just say, okay, take a break, goodbye? No. What I'm saying to you is this, okay? If that person comes and says to you, I need a break and I need space, this is the opportunity for you to take control of your life moving forward, okay? So what does it mean for you? What does I need space and I need a break mean for you? Does it mean that it's over for you? Or does it mean that I'm going to let you be? I'm not going to call you. I'm not going to contact you. We're going to kind of give this a couple of days, maybe a week, and then we'll reconvene and talk about it, But in the meantime, we are still in a monogamous relationship. What does it mean for you? First and foremost, you have to have that defined. You see, you can't give the control to the other person for the other person to decide your fate, how you're going to feel and everything else. No, that is your opportunity to take control of your life. Don't wait for the other person to make that choice for you. Don't. It's just, it's insane. Because then what happens is that we blame the other person. When you know what you want in a relationship, when you know exactly what your boundaries are, then it's a lot easier for you to kind of take a step back and say, you know what? You're saying you need space? Well, this is what I need space means to me. So respect that for me. Start the space immediately. If you're at his house or he's at your house, just break away. Break away at that moment. And when you break away for that moment, for you, the person on the receiving end, really just take a step back and use that time to reflect, okay? Not to overanalyze. Now I'm going to say there's something that happens when we, as a receiving party, happens when he walks out the door, or she walks out the door. Not so much for men, but we go and we mull this stuff over in our heads. What did I do wrong? What could I have done better? Oh my God! And so we analyze every little move that we've made. The key is not to overanalyze, but to reflect. Because when you're in overanalyze mode, what you end up doing is you tend to pick up the phone and say, "Oh my God, you know what? I'm sorry. Was it this?" And then we try and kind of force that person to talk about it when they're not ready. Don't do that. Reflect on it. Reflect on the things that you could have done better, and reflect on what transpired throughout the relationship and what you think you can do to better that relationship. It's really, really funny to me. One of the things that really continues to happen is that I'm sitting here telling you this. I'm going to share just a real quick story of what happened. There was a gentleman that I had met a couple years ago before I got married, and I was like, oh my God, he's amazing. He was different from any man that I've ever dated. But interestingly enough, he was like very hands-off. But he always told me that he liked me, that he cared about me. And he would show it in funny ways, not the way that I was used to someone showing me that they care for me, that they love me, right? What ended up happening is out of nowhere, I got I need a break, I need space. I just can't be in a relationship right now. There's just too much going on in my life, and I really need to get my ducks in a row. And I said, well, what do you mean? Why? What did I do wrong? How can I help you? Let me help you. Let me be here for you. And you know what I ended up doing? I ended up driving a wedge between me and this person, okay? And it turned out to be a wedge that the more that I thought that I was doing right by trying to help in the situation, I ended up just putting us further and further apart. There's another part of the story, which was the guy turned out to just be not a good pick for me. We both wanted different things. He was, involved with someone else at some point that was still part of his life. There was all these other factors. But the point that I'm getting at is, had I maybe just taken a step back and not overanalyze everything I did and just reflect on what I could do better and what I want to do better and what I can bring to my next relationship and what I learned, I probably would have grown more as a person, and I probably would have kept his friendship, to be honest, because he was a really great guy. But lesson learned, and everything's clear in hindsight 2020, right? That's what they say. So, I want to share with you, I told you that I would share some strategies with you on how to avoid this from happening to you. So these strategies apply to whether you're in a relationship, you're dating, and they're important because the common thread is the same. It happens in marriages where the partner comes and says, kind of need some space, kind of need to do my own thing. So strategy number 1. I want you to take a look at your calendar and plan a weekly night for you, whether it's you go and you do your nails. I like to go and just walk on the beach. That's one of my things that I like to do. Or I'll sit at a coffee shop, for a couple of hours by myself away from my husband. I love him dearly and nothing to do with that, but I just need some time for me. 2 is I also try to plan a weekly girls' night or girls' something. Like this coming weekend, me and one of my best friends are getting together and we're going to go get our nails done or go to movies and do dinner. So, I'm not going to be gone all day, but I have the opportunity to also just kind of be outside of my comfort zone and hang out with my friends and get together, okay? So that's strategy 1. And the reason I share this strategy with you is because it creates the space that's necessary in a relationship, which means that it avoids for that to come back and say, I need space, okay? Because you're already creating space. You're allowing for one another to be away from each other and do your own thing. Strategy number 2, schedule a vacation for yourself, okay? As being in a relationship, I'm married, I schedule things to go to do my own little staycation by myself. Of course, I miss my husband, from time to time, but here's the thing. I want to make sure that I give him the opportunity to miss me. Because when he misses me, when we see each other again, it's so nice. Because I really appreciate and value the person that he is. And it gives me time to reflect on our relationship. And strategy number 3, now this is my favorite, ask the hard questions. You're like, how is that your favorite strategy? How is that your best strategy? I'm going to tell you why. If you're sitting here talking to men, one of the things that I have learned is that men do not want to have a conversation around mushy, emotional things. Some men are in tune with that side of themselves, but some aren't. So you know what? You got to hook them. And here is how you hook them. Hey, babe, I think, we need to talk about having more sex. Having more sex nights, having more sex in our relationship. That gets a man's attention any moment, okay? Why not? Because it makes it light and playful and fun. And before you know it, honestly, you guys are just going to be like talking about that, and it's going to segue into being able for you to say, you know what, I want to know, how am I being as a partner for you? Am I supporting you? Am I giving you what you need? Is there something more you want from me? Now you can segue and kind of get a little bit of, I don't want to call it what is it that I'm thinking of, like when you're at work and an evaluation, but you're kind of are getting an evaluation because we need to know what are the things that we're doing good and we're doing wrong, and don't take it personal, okay? Reflect on it. Another hooker is, you know, darling, how can we spice it up in the bedroom? Or you know what, dear? How can I make your evening? How can I make your evening better? Would you like me to throw on some sexy lingerie? You know, talk to your partner like that. If you want to have a conversation about something emotional, a little mushy, that's a great hooker. Okay, at that point, they're just going to be like, whoa, whoa, you know? They're not even going to see that it's coming. Now, I'm not saying take this opportunity and then turn into this big emotional roller coaster. No. But be able to just talk about what's on your mind. That's the best way to grab someone's attention. Well, my 20 minutes are almost up, and I want to hear from you. Tell me, what do you think about these strategies? We have the Q&A function here, and I want to make sure that I see you all out there, and I'm so excited. You know, please tell me, what do you think of these strategies? Do you have any better ones that you'd like to talk about? Do you have any other suggestions? Share with our viewers what are some great strategies, or maybe some good hook lines to get the conversation going, you know? I'd love to hear from you. Well, in the meantime, I just want to tell you, you know, it's been such a pleasure to be hanging out with you here. And you know, let me check in, because we have people who are joining us from Facebook. We got people who are joining us from YouTube. So I want to make sure that I just cover all my bases. And, you know, Team Michelle G is over here helping out as well. So I'm very grateful to them for helping out. Let me see. I don't have anything. Well, maybe I'm not seeing it. All right. Well, I don't see anything. So I don't want to take up any more of your time, but I do want to tell you, and I want to leave you with this, okay? Every day is a new day to reignite your relationship, and it's important that you remember that, okay? Even if that person, the person that you love and that broke your heart and shattered your heart to pieces, yesterday said, I need a break, I need space. I promise you, if you just give them that little bit of space, you probably will be able to get farther with what it is that you're looking for, or have the conversation that you want, if you just give them that space. And the next day that you wake up, it's a new day, and you don't know what to expect of that day, okay? So keep that in mind. And let me see. Oh, I got one more. Someone's asking for one more strategy. Okay, awesome. Okay. So another great strategy. So I talked to you about planning time for you, planning a vacation. I talked about hookers. So another strategy. And this one, I would say, I have my husband here, and he's just really funny. I would have to say, you know, besides everything that I told you, planning your girl time, your guy time, vacations, the other thing that's really important in being able to avoid the I need a break, the I need space kind of thing, all right, I would have to say has to do with how you ask questions. You know, how do you ask questions? How are you asking? Are you being like, hey, I want to know this, this, and that? How are you communicating to that person? You know, what is exactly that's happening here? You know, and if you're trying to have that conversation, are you immediately shifting from fun and sexy to so direct and like, oh my God, you know? It's almost like you got to think of it like marketing, okay? Now, I don't know how many entrepreneurs are watching, but I want to tell you something about marketing, even from a non-entrepreneurial standpoint. Marketing, you have to sell yourself. In a relationship, you're constantly selling yourself, to be honest with you. Even when you have a ring on your finger, you're still selling yourself because you're still keeping that person engaged. And it's important that when you're speaking the language that you're speaking and you're asking the questions that you're asking, that you're keeping them engaged. Because the moment that a person's not engaged, it's not really, what do you want them to do? They're not engaged. You're not engaging them. That's why periodic talks about how am I doing good? You know, am I providing what you need? Am I giving you? Am I fulfilling and meeting your needs? Okay. So that's my other strategy. Thank you so much for asking. And not hookers. I'm sorry, I said hooks. I meant to, I'm being corrected. Not hookers, hooks. And we got a question here from one of our viewers that says, what do you think about going to bed angry? I'm going to be honest with you. I don't believe in going to bed angry. And I know you're going to say, well, hold on. You told me not to have the conversation. Here's the thing. There's something that I truly believe in, and it's this. If me and my husband have an argument, you know, and it just kind of plays off through the night, and, you know, I go for a walk and he'll stay home or whatever the case may be, the one promise that we have made to each other is that no matter what, we may be upset, we may not continue to agree, we will say good night to each other. I love you. I'm grateful for you. And I hope, and tomorrow is a new day, and I hope that we can continue to connect, you know, to talk about this, okay? And that's really important, because you're not giving into the conversation. You're really not. But what you're doing is that you're saying, I'm standing my ground with whatever the situation was, but I want you to know that I still love you, and that anger is not greater than the love that I have for you and how I value you and treasure you as a person. And again, tomorrow's a new day. So wake up tomorrow and ask, are you ready to have this conversation? Do you want to talk about this? If they say, no, I'm not ready to talk about it, I want you to know, and this is what I would say to my husband, or he would say to me, I want you to know that I'm here for you, and when you're ready to talk, I'm open to listen. No argument, no this and that. I'm just ready to listen to you and hear what you have to say. And I hope that you would afford me the same courtesy. Okay? You know, I'm going to go ahead and take one more question. I hope that answers your question, Molly. I'm going to go ahead, and it says, what are some tips for shifting your energy when you realize that the conversation is getting combative? That's a good one. Thanks there, Michelle. There's another Michelle on the line. So if the conversation is starting to get heated up, you know, and it was fun and light in the beginning, and then it starts kind of moving over, I'm going to say this. This is a great gesture. Hey, time out really quick. Hun, I just feel like we're getting too heated here. Why don't we just take a time out and reconvene in a little while? Okay? That is some, and obviously at that point it takes you to be a bigger person, and you may say, I don't want to be the bigger person, but listen, it's not about numbers here or tally marks, okay? Not at all. But when you say that, there's something that happens in you. Your anger kind of subsides a little bit. You're still angry, but your anger is not overpowering your thoughts, your actions, or your reactions, okay? That is a great tip. Another great tip sometimes is to count to 10. And if someone's speaking to you and they're really pissing you off, 1, 2, and breathe out, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. And that will really do a wonder for your body. It'll kind of smooth you down and control you, you know, and kind of put you in a different place. Here's another thing, too. Besides the timeout gesture, if you feel the need to defend yourself, because we're human and we want to kind of go at it, if you feel that need, then I'm going to say to you that it is, and you have full permission to say, I apologize. I can't continue in this conversation because I may say something that I don't mean because I am so angry right now. I'm going to walk away. It is perfectly fine for you to say that, okay? And, oh, you're welcome for all the great tips. I have a Facebook comment here, and I want to make sure that I address it. So I apologize. Just give me 1 second. My Facebook. And I hope you guys are all enjoying this. I have a big announcement by the end of the call. So, finding ways to miss each other is the best way. I love being gone for a couple of days and then coming home ready to see each other. Thanks, Molly, for sharing that. That's amazing. And it's true. It's, you know, we all want to miss each other. Missing is a part of just being in touch with the other person. There's something about the whole energy. Well, I'm going to go ahead and just say to you, thank you so much again for spending this time with me. I hope you've gotten some great tips, some valuable information. Don't hesitate to contact me if you have any other questions. My email address is more@Michelle with 2 L's g.com. And the other thing, too, is please visit my website, www.michelleg.com, to learn more about what I do and just learn more and get to know me. If we haven't connected on Facebook, please connect with me on Facebook. Introduce yourself. And my Facebook is facebook.com/MichelleGFans. And so what I wanted to announce before I closed out was here in the next coming days, we're going to be launching our podcast. So even though we're having our video podcast, this is going to turn into an official podcast on iTunes. And I would love your support in spreading the word. Pass this information, pass these Google Hangouts information to all your friends, whoever could use some relationship advice. And here's the thing, nobody likes to talk about relationships, but it's the one thing that we actually have to work on all the time. Because if we just kind of let it lag and fall by the wayside, they suffer. And that reflects onto everything else in our life. So I am so excited again to get to know you. Don't forget that we have a lot of great things coming in 2014, and I want to keep you up to date on everything. But until next time, every day is a new day to reignite your relationship. So thanks so much for joining me, and I'll talk to you next week. Same time, same channel. Take care.